Hello, my name is Jonathan Bonjour. I am a fine artist and film enthusiast, and if you'll give me a moment, I would like to tell you about one of the craziest nights of my life, an evening with Francis Ford Coppola, and a screening of Megalopolis. So a little bit of history on my relationship with Francis Ford Coppola, not like that. I took a film class in high school twice, actually, because I liked movies that much and I didn't want to do anything else, and it counted as an English credit. Don't ask me more questions. I don't want to talk about it. But we did a film class, and our film studies professor, Mr. Ford, maybe? No, that can't be right. It's Francis Ford Coppola. Mr. Ferd. That's not correct either. Our film studies teacher, Mr. Ferd, he was a huge sucker for Westerns and just like really, really well-made films. Hugely unkind about anybody wanting to watch a normal movie. So we finally got him to land on the idea of focusing our class on one director, Francis Ford Coppola, a genuine genius in terms of filmmaking. So we put a light focus on his movies, watching The Godfather and Apocalypse Now, among other movies, because it is a film studies class. You can't just watch one guy's movies. I gained this huge, tremendous respect for Francis Ford Coppola as a creative, as an artist, as a person who makes something that's worth consuming. And so when I found out that Francis Ford Coppola was releasing a movie last year called Megalopolis, and it was apparently extremely high budget, super crazy, fever dream, forward thinking, I didn't see it. And I should have seen it. I wanted to see it, but I just didn't get around to seeing it, and it made so little money that I had about 2 weeks to do so, and then it was gone from the theaters, so I just never got a chance to see it. I could blame this on a lot of things. I could put it on the potential that I might have been in Thailand or New Zealand at the time. I could say that I was in a big coma. That's not true, but I could say that. But the truth of the matter is, I could have gone and seen Megalopolis in a theater as God and Francis intended, and then I didn't. And I feel bad about that. I felt bad about that since then, even though it got horrendous reviews. I mean, just trashing the place, burn the house down, Roadhouse-style reviews. It was a shame of mine that I had not gotten to see it. Cut to about a month ago, I get an ad on Instagram, possibly the only good thing that's come from Instagram. And I see an evening with Francis Ford Coppola and a screening of Megalopolis. And I think to myself, I can right a wrong. I can do something good in this world. I can see Megalopolis. I can carry the torch for cinema. I can carry the torch for Francis Ford Coppola. And then I read further. Francis Ford Coppola is going to be there with you in the same room. There's going to be a Q&A. How could I not show up for that? I mean, that sounds like something that I would put into a computer to make in a Sims because it was closer than I would ever get to in reality. And it is insane to me that I got the chance to do this. So I bought my tickets. I told Lincoln, my best friend, who I am also doing a podcast and a TV show with, kind of a TV show, YouTube show, more to come on that. I told him about it, so we did a double date. Him and his girlfriend and me and my wife, Darcy. We dressed up to the nines. We bought our balcony seats because that's all we could afford. We drove down to Denver, Colorado, had a nice meal at a place I can't remember the name. It was Italian and I am dairy-free, so it was very, very hard to get anything that literally didn't kill me. Now we'll jump to the actual event, an evening with Francis Ford Coppola. My expectations were so high. I had heard that this movie is bad. I heard that people hate it. I tend to like things that people hate. I love Francis Ford Coppola. I had an immense respect for him going into this, and so I was just excited to be in the same room, much less see his latest movie that may or may not be getting a streaming or Blu-ray release, because it kind of seems like he doesn't want that to happen. He says it's for preserving the cinema dream, I guess, but it made $14 million on a $140-something million budget, so I don't think the cinema dream is alive for Megalopolis. He's 86, I believe he said, 85 maybe. He is touring around the country with this movie. So here we are. We walk into the Paramount Theater. It's absolutely beautiful, Art Deco palace of cinema. We see a bunch of people. We go up to the balcony. We see a bunch of people in a line. So we go, okay, well, let's get in the line. Because we're sheep. Honestly, like, it's crazy what I'll do, what I could be gotten into by just like a bunch of people in a line. It is amazing how quickly I'll feel like I should be in that line. It's probably unhealthy. We get in the line, we get up to the front, we show the guy our tickets, and he goes, okay, great, are you trading them in? And I said, huh? And he said, oh, you must be here to trade in your seats for orchestra seats. And I said, Sure am. Yep, let's do that. So here's what we found out. Not enough tickets were sold for the balcony to be filled or even needed. Instead of being in balcony row 3 or 4 back, kind of on the side, we were probably 10 rows back from the stage from where Francis Ford Coppola was going to be sitting. It's one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me. This whole night is one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me, and we'll get to that. Man, we wait for quite a while. It's supposed to start at about 7, it's 7:15, and finally someone comes on stage. It's not Francis Ford Coppola. He says, hey, I am from the Denver Film Institute, or Denver Film, I'm just part of Denver Film, and I am so happy to introduce this movie and just appreciate the genius of this. Oh, hang on, let me forget maybe the most important thing. You stupid idiot. When we walked into the theater, we were handed a piece of paper, and it is, it's a real note setter for how the evening is gonna go. I have it right here. It's a letter to us from Francis Ford Coppola. Dear audience member, when a motion picture begins, the audience enters through a door. But which door? Because just as fast food companies spend millions making potato chips habit-forming, also movie companies spend millions making their products as formulaic and addictive as they can. So when an audience is about to enter, they choose which door to open. Please choose mine. I've always wanted to make an ancient Roman epic set in modern America. The parallels are so interesting. But my door is a new way in, not yet familiar, and doesn't develop in ways you've been taught to expect. So please laugh when you want, shout at it, be moved to tears, or even if confused for a minute, you can still learn from it. Because when you're willing to open and enter a new door, you may well reach somewhere you've never been before. Thank you, sincerely, Francis Ford Coppola. And if that doesn't read like someone saying, hey, look, I know what this is. I'm not sorry, but I'm also not willing to engage you on what this actually is. But just be prepared for this to be something crazy and, I don't know, get a kick out of it. Just like, don't worry about it, dude. If it doesn't read like that, I don't know what this reads like. There is such a note of like, it's so odd to start this on a note of like, so you're not gonna like it, what I did, but you are here now, so please don't be mean about it. This piece of paper right here that I want to get framed is a Rosetta Stone for the entire evening. That set the tone for exactly what this was gonna be. It is so funny to me to receive that walking into this theater, very excited to see this movie, ready to give it a shot. This made me really, really question whether or not I was gonna like this movie. And that brings us to the Denver film guy walks off stage, the lights dim, the sound starts to roll, the video plays. We're watching Megalopolis, the movie I never thought I would get to legally see, sitting next to each other with friends and family and God, and I suppose we should talk about Megalopolis. I could make a very, 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 very long video on my thoughts on this film. It is one of the most unhinged, insane, ridiculous, tone poem, crazy, kind of bad-looking, mostly poorly written, very, very, very bad movies that I have ever seen in my entire life. And I'll be 100% honest with you, I loved every fucking second of it. Because Francis Ford Coppola is a man that I had a lot of respect for. But this is not a movie made by the guy who made The Godfather. This is made by the guy who used to be the guy that made The Godfather. It is, and I don't mean that derogatorily, I mean, it is just a completely different man who's lived a completely different life since then. And it is really crazy what this movie is. I have absolutely no interest in talking about this movie from beginning to end in terms of what the plot is, because I don't really totally know the things. It feels like an elderly grandfather rambling at you about some stuff, and some of it you understand, some of it you don't. You just kind of go, yes, except it's presented in 4K high definition, beautiful, well lit, mostly very, very interesting visually things with Adam Driver and Aubrey Plaza and Shia LaFreaking-Buff. It's one of those things that just shouldn't exist. Like, it's crazy that we live in the world where this exists. And I love that this is a movie that exists. I don't even think that it's a movie. I think it is an experience. Megalopolis is a roller coaster. I'm just gonna highlight some stuff that is in this movie, and then we're just gonna. I don't even know how to engage with this. That's why I'm not doing a full review of it, is because I genuinely don't know how to engage with it. There is a bit where a guy says, "How do you like this boner I have?" And then he proceeds to remove the blanket from the, and then it's a little tiny bow, and he shoots a girl. There's a bit where Adam Driver can control time, and then at one point he can't, and so he goes, "I can't control time anymore," which is the funniest, the funniest line read ever. That's the other thing. Everybody's bringing their 100% A game just for not this movie or any movie that a human would make. It feels like space aliens trying to bring their A game. Like, there's a bit where Adam Driver is sitting in a chair and he goes, "Go back to the club," and it's incredible. Like, it's just so funny. There's also a bit where they're trying to name a child and they don't know if it's a boy or a girl, and they say, "If we have a girl, it'll be Sunny Hope, and if we have a boy, Francis." And it is so funny. Like, this is a very funny movie. Some of the time I think that's intentional. A lot of the time I do not think it's intentional, but it is one of the best comedies of the year for last year, and it's insane that it wasn't put in that category. It is such a funny movie. I loved every second of it. It is also beautiful in some moments. It has moments of tension. If you take this movie scene by scene, it is good. If you take it as a whole, it is bad. But each scene is interesting to watch, and I was never bored, not for a single moment. Because when you get bored, they drive through a big city of statues that are all moving around. Or if you get bored, a little kid comes up, shoots Adam Driver directly in the nog, and then he gets a megalon, the special alive metal that they never really explain, put into his head, and he's walking around with like this weird kind of bright eye patch and becoming like the shaman of something. And also it's New Rome is the thing I forgot to mention. It's set in New Rome, which is like New York basically, but Roman. There's an architect, Caesar, played by Adam Driver, who is fighting the bad guy Cicero, played by Giancarlo Esposito, who is bringing the least I've ever seen him bring to literally anything. He brought more to whatever character he was supposed to be from the Serpent Society in Captain America Brave New World than he brought to playing Cicero in Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis. This is just a legitimately insane piece of film. I want to own it so badly. In fact, I have a... Don't tell anybody, but I have a source for receiving certain Blu-rays. And I have a rule that if they release it legally, I will buy it legally. But if they don't, that's not my fault. So I will be owning Megalopolis. We'll see how time will tell which version of that, or which maybe both versions of that. But there is no question in my mind that Megalopolis will be mine, because it is unhinged in a major way. Oh, Mia Goth is also in it, and she plays a virgin. That's important to the movie, not to me. That is being auctioned to either keep or lose her virginity. It's unclear. And she's also a pop star. And then they find out that she's not actually a virgin. And then she becomes like a rock star. It's which, if you're thinking to yourself, hey, that doesn't seem like it would fit in a movie about any of the things you've talked about, you're correct. Like, you're 100% right about that. It does not at all. But this is just an absolute fever dream of a movie that it is indescribable. I know less about it coming out than I knew going in. That it is a movie that holds a lot of opinions and feelings and is not clear enough about them for me to have any opinions or feelings of my own. The only thing that I know is that it does end with the general sentiment that if we just lean into technology and people who already have a bunch of money and want to use that technology, then we'll probably be A-okay. Which is crazy. It is a wildly optimistic movie for a movie that seems so sad, but it is a wildly optimistic thematic film about technology, which feels like magical technology, about people who are really rich, about the potential for people to change. This is, for a movie that is as gross and weird and kind of ughy as it is a kind film. It's a movie that feels like it wants to be hopeful about the world. But instead of a movie like Superman that is hopeful and feels hopeful, this is a movie that is hopeful and feels like a nightmare. I want everyone to see it because it's not because it's good, but because it's something that we should all be talking about. Because I think we should all have this here. I think we should all have it locked into our brains like it is in mine. It's got me by a chokehold, has my brain by a chokehold. I didn't even know that was possible. The movie ends. The credits are rolling. Oh, no, hang on, before that, there's an interactive bit where somebody walks out on stage and talks to Adam Driver, asks him a question, and Adam Driver responds, and then he walks off stage, which was crazy. I'd heard that they might be doing that, not for this, but when the original release came out, and I was like, that seems like it's not gonna work. And I'll be honest, the novelty of it is way more important than the success of it, because it was a great feeling. There was never a moment I was bored in this movie, and several moments that I was 100% blown away or laughing my ass off, again, at things that I'm not 100% sure were intended to be funny. But it is such a good time, and I think I got the ideal viewing experience because the credits roll, the lights come back up, and out comes Francis Ford Coppola. And this, my friends, is where the night went from incredible to unhinged. I said before that I had a lot of respect for Francis Ford Coppola, and I'll be honest, that respect was tested in this evening because he steps out and he said a lot of stuff about the patriarchy. He said a lot of things about horses that I kind of lost track of. He said that Cleopatra was a very powerful person, even though she wasn't pretty, which is just a crazy sentence. He went on a very long rant about horses. I can't stress that enough, and about how horses are the reason that men are in power. It was so immediately clear. This was probably a 10-minute talk that he did on the first section of it, and it was so immediately clear that this is definitely the guy that made Megalopolis. He went, in my mind, from being this auteur, from being this powerhouse filmmaker, most incredible creative genius, someone I looked up to in a creative sense, this pedestal that I had put him on and that the world has put him on, to rambling grandfather who just wants to tell you about all the cool books he's read. And for a second, I was like, oh no. I didn't like the movie as a movie. I loved it as an experience, but I didn't like the movie as a movie. And now I'm being bored by Francis Ford Coppola, which I feel horrible about. But then he got to some questions. He said, let's get some audience interaction. Actually, the question that he asked was, let's get some audience interaction. What are ways that you think we could improve society? Which is really what the movie's about. If not successfully about, it's what it's about. And he got the first question, and they said, "Hello, Mr. Ford Coppola. It is an honor to meet you, or to be in the same room with you. What do you think? How do you think the careers of your children were involved in Megalopolis?" And he said, "Well, I wasn't really hoping to talk about that, but I guess there is some merit to the question if I get to talk about my children." So he went on a very beautiful rant about how proud he is of his children, and then he said, "Okay, well, let's get another question." And they went up and they said, "Hey, I watched the documentary that your wife made about Apocalypse Now. Apocalypse Now is my favorite movie. I actually got to meet you guys and interview you for something a while back, and I just wanted to know." Like you mentioned the idea that at the time, or that you were talking about Megalopolis when you were filming Apocalypse Now. Is that true? And he said, "Well, the way I work," and he went on a long tangent about the way that he works and how he has a lot of projects in his mind. I think I completely understand. But then he didn't really answer her question necessarily, and then he was like clearly not wanting to engage on Megalopolis, literally at all. It was an evening with Francis Ford Coppola to screen Megalopolis, and the man was so dead set on not talking about Megalopolis that it started to be kind of funny, and then it started to be kind of adorable. And then I went from on this roller coaster from, this is the most incredible artist I've ever seen, to this guy is so weird and old and strange that he doesn't even want to talk about his movie, to like, okay, maybe I've got a different, altered, but new respect for Francis Ford Coppola. And the time that happened was when he said, "Hey, do we have the whiteboard?" And his assistant, maybe somebody, brought out a whiteboard and also a chair so that he could draw on the whiteboard. And on the whiteboard are written 10 things, 10 elements of society. And the next hour and change was Francis Ford Coppola just sort of telling us how he would fix society if he had all the power. And that is crazy. That is not what was advertised. That is not what we prepared our hearts for. And I'll tell you what, in the group that I was in, there were 4 of us, and we all had very different reactions to that. Some of us were pretty upset that this is going on for this long and not a Q&A and not productive, because a lot of his solutions are bad. No, I shouldn't say that. A lot of his solutions are impractical, and they seem to be coming from a world of bubble where, yes, if people were inherently good and perfect, yeah, a lot of this would work, but they're not, and we aren't, and none of that would succeed. But that's not the point. I don't even want to talk about his opinions on that, because everybody's allowed to have their opinions on how they think society should be run, how they think about the world and God and creation and evolution and all that. Anybody can have literally any opinion on that, and I don't need to dissect those opinions. But it is crazy that people repeatedly tried to talk to him about Megalopolis, and he repeatedly shut it down as efficiently and strangely as possible. It was one of the greatest nights of my life. We did have to leave early, and I feel really bad about that. But one of the people in our group was working at literally 4 in the morning, and it was like 11 p.m. and we were at like 6 out of 10 of the things that he wanted to talk about, and these things were taking a long time. So we had to leave early, and I can't believe that this is a sentence I'm about to utter, but I walked out of Francis Ford Coppola's in a discussion, and I feel bad about it, but also it was insane, and I think I got a lot out of it, and I'm really glad that I got to be there and see it. And it's a bummer that I had to leave early, but also sleep and mental health are very important, and so I would prioritize that. And it's a bummer that we didn't get to hear the rest of it. I really would have liked to. I was having a wonderful time. But that said, an evening with Francis Ford Coppola, I don't even know where to begin on this, other than to say that it was one of the wildest nights of my life. I had an absolutely wonderful time. I lost respect for the movie, I lost respect for Francis Ford Coppola, and then I gained respect for the movie, and I gained a brand new, all different respect for Francis Ford Coppola. I feel like my opinion of the man has changed very significantly, and it is so much stronger because it taught me something really important, and that's human beings are the artists. It's not this auteur, if you're not the auteur, you'll never make it. It's normal people with very weird opinions that get to make these things that are really impressive, and that is hugely inspiring to me. I am creatively jazzed. I am so inspired by an evening with Francis Ford Coppola. I loved every second of it. I cannot wait to own Megalopolis in whatever form that takes, and I am just so appreciative of the opportunity to be in the same room as Francis Ford Coppola and learn that he's exactly like everyone's weird uncle. And that is incredible, because that means if my weird uncle can make The Godfather, I can make something that is worth watching, worth reading, that is successful, something that can take off. Thank you so much for watching this video and checking out my channel. If you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on movies, comics, TV shows, anything of the like, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and comment down below what you'd like to review next. Or do none of that, because I am not your weird uncle dad. I don't know what it's about, but it taught me that I don't have to reach these unattainable goals of being Spielberg. Who knows, maybe Spielberg's a weirdo too. Like, this is reframing my opinion. Celebrities are people too, is I guess what I'm coming away with.